Hello there everyone, it's been a while since my last update, so this is gonna be a rather long one. There's also construction going on outside, so you might hear some background noise. First of all, I'd like to thank once again to everyone who were involved in this project. With your support we have almost reached 400% of our original target, which means we got some additional funding to work on the stretch goals and some side projects. In this video I'll let you know what I've been working on for the past 3 weeks. First of all, you may have noticed that the Indiegogo campaign is still running, so you can still participate. It will be up and running until the week of the shipping. So if you are thinking about backing the project, there's still time. If you are thinking of buying an additional remote switch, there's still time. And speaking of the switches, let me go through them in a bit more detail. I've posted them in the last week. I've been working on them during the campaign's running time. There are 4 of them at the moment. The twin switch and the medium-sized switch will be using this type of switches. These are heavy duty. You can still press them with your finger, although this one is a bit heavier. I'm still looking around to find the best one, the most comfortable one to use. But since these ones are much heavier, you can use those foot switches on the ground. The case is made of metal, the buttons are heavy duty, so you can stomp on them with no problem. The small button, this one is the handmade prototype. This will not be the final casing. The small button is made for desk use. It's really tiny, so you can just put it around right next to your remote, but that would defeat the purpose, I guess. So you can just place it right next to your charger, maybe on a wall, and just use this button to activate any of the assigned functions. You can assign any function to any of the buttons. You may have also noticed that the hand trigger and the small button have a little black sliding switch on them. On this prototype I have this kind of switch instead. What this lets you do is you can assign 2 functions to the button and you can select between functions. I will show you how that works in a minute. Some other aspect that I'd like to talk about is I've been using this all RCA type switches that is common on DVD players and audio devices. It's a very small connector which helps me put more switches on the back of the timer. The traditional remotes usually use this huge connector, and it's really hard to get the whole of it inside these small buttons and the timer case. I would like to show you what I've worked on this old Black Edition prototype. On this one, the buttons are actually directly wired to each of these buttons, so anything that's connected to this one would activate the focus, and this is only for the expose button. And inside is really cramped. I don't really want to open it up. I don't want to work on that prototype any longer, so I had to build a new one, and it's coming right up. Here it is. The purpose of this prototype was to build another platform to test the remotes and, more importantly, test the new screen. As you can see, we have a new Graphical Lcd now, which means we can write a completely different user interface that should be much easier to operate. This old one is a character LCD. It has 4 rows, each with 20 characters. So I could not use different size fonts, I could not have used different size text. But with this one, for example, what we can do is always show your base time in a larger font, always show your grade in a large font, and maybe have a smaller font underneath dedicated to show what the rotary dials are doing. For instance, right now you can see I can use the left one to navigate between the menus, and the right one will increase the time directly from the main menu. There was no way to communicate this information with the old timer before. But with the new interface I can use small fonts and I can display such information easily. I'm still testing this LCD. It's not 100% that I'll be going further with this one. I'd like to do some more tests. There are a few issues here and there. I'm trying to work around them. I'll let you know of the outcome. Anyway, back to the remote switches. First of all, this prototype has 4 of them, and these are not hardwired, these are reconfigurable, as I will show you soon. And on the side I still have the classical jack, so this will also be there in the final version. Which means if you have an old foot switch from another maker, or even if you have a guitar foot switch like this one I have here, you'll still be able to use them in the timer. There's no need to purchase an additional foot switch. The older ones will just work, and you can assign any function to them. You can, for instance, activate the focus function, or you can start a countdown, or you can just change the channel or engage and disengage the room light. But now this remote, as I told you before, has a switch on the side. This way, as I've programmed, if I press this one, it will activate the focus, which will turn the enlarger on and let it keep on running until I've achieved my focus. Then I can just turn it back off. If I flip it the other way, it will start the countdown, which was 8 seconds, I believe. I forgot what I set up. 7.5 seconds. So if I'm just placing my paper, switch it, focus, disengage, I'm ready to expose, just press it and it will do the exposure. So this is much more practical. You can just have a single button on your desk. You can let it have 2 functions and you can toggle between those 2. Same for the hand trigger, it will also have the same switch, and you can assign any function to either position of the switch. Something else that I've used this new prototype to work on is a zone sensor. Let me show you how it works. Cancel the countdown first. So right now this is still at a proof of concept level. This is not something I made. This comes from a very old darkroom timer, and this is 25 years old and still works. And the best part is, if I decide to go with this light sensor, this is quite cheap. So I'm still testing it. Maybe I will go for a different, more expensive, more capable sensor, but if I decide to go with this one, it means I'll be able to offer really cheap zone sensors for you to use. What does a zone sensor do? Let me demonstrate. First, I engage the focus function. I'm supposed to have the sensor underneath the enlarger. Then I will engage the detection mode. Right now it took a reading and it displays 0 EV on the display, which means the reading I took and the reading it's making right now are the same. If I block the light with my hand a bit, you will see now it displays 0.4, almost 0.4 stops underexposed, which means it's receiving less light. Or if I move it around and point it towards my window that you can't see, it's up there. Now it says it's 1 stop overexposure. So what it does is it measures the light, detects light levels, and it monitors the change. So if I calibrate the paper and just take an exposure, that means I won't have to make a test strip. Or even if I don't bother with paper calibration, a lot of people don't want to deal with the whole thing. You can still use the sensor to monitor how the dynamic range of a negative is. You can use it to compensate for changes in your aperture. You can check how much vignette you have to the sides. So this will be useful in the future, and I'm still working on it. What else have I worked? Well, the interface, the hardware of the White Edition is a bit changed from what you've seen in the renders before. There used to be only a single button here and a single one here for the countdown and focus. Right now I added one more. This one starts the exposure. Let me cancel the focus. This one starts the focus, this one starts the countdown as usual. And these buttons are customizable. You can assign any function to them, same as your remotes. For instance, this one will turn the room lights off and on, and it will, at the same time it will also dim the display, so that it doesn't bother your eyes when you're in a darkened room with the safe light on. Another update is that we no longer have static rotary encoders. These will also act as buttons now. You could not press on these ones before, but right now you can turn them around, or you can just hit enter and you can just continue adjusting. And if I just want to go to the base menu, just hold them down, it will throw you back to the main menu. Maybe I will also make them double as custom buttons. Maybe they will just double what the enter button does. I mean, right now this one goes to f-stop mode, so I can just use the f-stop function. If I go back to time mode, this is once again 1 second in 1 second intervals. If I press, it becomes more precise. I will play with the interface a bit more, but I believe making these ones double as buttons is the right choice. What else have I done in the past month or so? I built not built actually. We have converted an old Durst L1200 model to work with LEDs. You can read more on this on photria.com forums, there's a link in the description. That project has worked great, and I will be shooting more videos with it. I'm also working on converting my Kaiser enlarger, which will also serve as a base for our next project. And since I have to ensure full future compatibility with all the hardware, I have to work on the side projects until I'm finalizing the PCB design. As you might have guessed, I'll be delivering software updates in the future, but for the hardware we get only one shot. So we have to get all the pins, all the connectors, all the interface, all the design of the PCB and the components right from the start. So that's why I've been working on this. There will be another update concerning the LED enlargers. Once again, thank you everyone for all your interest in my project. Hope to see you soon. Take care.